Hi everyone, this is Tlaloc Venancio, and I will be walking you real quick on our EdTPA lesson plan. I'm gonna start with the blank sheet. Um, Somebody in the presentations we had in class suggested to start with the second page, or instead of starting with the first page of standards and whatnot. And I agree with that. I just did a lesson plan for my math methods course, and I was quite a bit lost. But once I started with this, with what I am actually going to teach and how I'm going to carry the class, it seemed very helpful. Um, so you have to have, number one, you have to have a transition from the previous activity. So that could be, that you're starting a new day and a new, new learning, or uh, or that you're in the middle of a class period and you're transitioning into a new subject. Um, so you have to know how to transition from there, and then you have to have a hook and a purpose for learning. Um, you know, if we go into a sample worksheet and we look at this transition from previous activity, this person right here shows that they have an interactive notebook on which students have been, working on this lesson plan. This lesson plan right here is a review for a test that they will have coming up. Um, so the purpose for learning again is to review solving on one-step equations and two-step equations. And then we keep going on into the focus instruction or modeling. So this is in the previous lesson plan. They have a quick warm-up. And again, that lesson plan, they're trying to solve equations with one step or two steps. They have, this is the warm-up they have. And on the warm-up, they have to know from A, B, C, and D which equation makes x equals to 4. Um, so right after the warm-up, the teacher will go and model that, and then do some scaffold and finding uh, who's getting it, who's not getting it by this thumbs up and thumbs down. And then right after that, it goes into guided instruction and practice. So after giving giving the lesson and showing students kind of like the theory, then we need to go and do some problems with them. In math, that will mean actually working out some problems with one equation or two equations. Um, and then you have to know and see how you're going to differentiate learning and do scaffolds for students like English learners, students with IEPs, underperforming students, struggling readers, and gifted students. So in this lesson, right here, the teacher has them work on 10 problems first, and they're encouraged to uh, first seek help with their peers before asking the teacher. And there's also on their first 10 problems, there are also challenge problems right here, if you can see this, for gifted students to do after they're done with their work. And then as we carry down um, into the independent practice, uh, the lesson plan that I had opened actually has two independent practices. Um, in this lesson plan, after doing the first 10 problems right here, they go back together as a class and discuss problems, and that is where teachers are doing evaluations. And then after this, the students go back to working on another 10 problems, and the teacher is doing an evaluation walking around the classroom. Um, the scaffolds and differentiation that they do is that this lesson plan includes um, a group mostly of IEP students or struggling students, and they are with a para-educator that drives the group by itself. and they are working through the problems little by little. And then again, like I was telling you earlier, there's a challenge question for advanced students. In this lesson, it also addresses the auditory processors. This teacher reads the equation and instructions. And then they also have scaffolds for expressive receptive disorder, and they use various colors, and then this board for different steps of solving equations. So again, so that is what the students are doing, and then finally you have to have a closure for the lesson. In the lesson that I was describing earlier, the closure is, the teacher's asking the students about to brainstorm on how they can prepare for the test the next day. So once you get that done, or at least for my sake, once I get this done, then I can go back and know and kind of like see, kind of work backwards and see what my central focus is. So that's the essential literacy strategy focus, related skills, and my content focus. And then I can also write the standards, which are found in our Common Core standards. They're found online. And then my learning objectives and how I am going to be assessing that. For example, in the lesson plan I showed you, like I explained earlier, here are the essential literacy strategy focus. So simplifying and solving linear equations, related skills, solving one-step equations, understanding the concept of variables, adding and subtracting integers, and then the content focus is to solve equations with one variable. Here are the standards, and then here are the assessments. This is how the teachers assess in the class. So they're solving equations with variables on both sides, and the teacher is doing thumbs up and thumbs down on group votes. And then they're solving multi-step equations using their tools, and the teacher is walking around. And then right after that, on that first page, there's the language function and demands. This lesson plan actually helped me to understand what that means. And actually, we just read about it in our English learner class about the language function. So reading, speaking, and writing. And this is what the students will be working on, but on those three functions. And then the language functions, so analyze the questions, and then here the vocabulary that students will need to understand. And then here are, after that, you write down everything you would use for the lesson, and then also their prior knowledge, right? This kind of like jumps into the transition and the hook and the purpose for learning. So the lesson planning itself can be a little bit stressful, but I found when I did my first lesson plan for my methods course that doing the second page helped me a lot into then afterwards writing the first page. I think what I found hard, and I'm a little bit confused, is what I am really gonna be teaching. I don't really know as of right now what are the stepping stones for any grade level. I mean, I see the Common Core standards, but for example, if I'm doing the lesson plans that we talked earlier about solving one-step equations, I don't know when I know variables need to be introduced earlier, but I don't know what are the stepping stones for like negative numbers, doing inverse functions and things like that. So I am still a little bit confused on the actual math, but I think as I keep doing this and writing lesson plans that I will be able to complete it better. Thank you.